To the Point with Kelly Dunn and Michael Williams.
In Wellington last month, the ballot counting showed the winners in 2 races. But almost a week later, another count showed they had lost. In Iowa earlier this year, Mitt Romney was declared the winner. But 16 days later, Rick Santorum had a 34-vote lead. For some, it's reminiscent of the 2000 presidential election in Palm Beach County. Good morning and happy Easter. Welcome to the Point. Today we are talking about counting the votes and what it's like when things go wrong.
Joining us is former Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections, Teresa Lepore, who was in the eye of the vote counting storm in the presidential election 12 years ago. Hard to believe it's been 12 years.
Yeah, it has really flown.
Thanks for being with us. When you heard about the most recent flip-flops, be they far away or at home, your thoughts?
It kind of brought back some memories, some not so good memories, but you know, things do happen with elections, and I always say the only perfect election involves no humans, so I'm not sure exactly what caused either of those problems, but...
Well, and in the case in Wellington, when you have people declared a winner, and then they're the loser. I mean, could it have been any worse in that case when you're, I mean, well, certainly the presidential election in 2000, but you know what I mean, on a local election since then, that's got to be one of the worst ones
that's the worst case scenario in any election that any supervisor of elections can deal with. I really don't know what had happened there. Obviously, I'm not there anymore, but there should have been testing going on, which I'm sure they did, so I'm not...
It does bring to light the questions about how and when we do the audits before these things are certified, which led to the problem. How would you fix that if it was still up to you to do?
Well, not do the certification until the audit is done. And one of the things that have happened over the last number of years is everybody's in such a hurry to get the election results. So the election staff are rushing to get those results out, and sometimes they may not be as careful as they should be in getting those results out. So I think one of the things is everybody's going to have to just try to be patient, audit the results, and then release the results and certify.
The elections department saying, listen, this was computer software, we're getting the black eye, but it's really not our fault, it was a glitch. But does it speak to a need for more standardization of that software, both here and around the country?
It does. The Division of Elections in Tallahassee, which is under the Secretary of State's office, does have a Bureau of Voting System certification, and they do certify the results. I don't know, again, what happened in this particular case, but I'm assuming what they certified was accurate. So was it a testing problem? Was it an actual glitch, which I hate that word glitch, but was it a glitch or what? I really don't know.
How imperfect is the election system in Palm Beach County in particular? You know, how much should we expect for it to be a perfect night on election night? I think we're lulled into that sense that it should all go smoothly no matter what. How imperfect is it in general?
Anytime you're using paper ballots or anything mechanical, it's subject to having problems. Particularly paper ballots, you've got voters marking a piece of paper. Are they marking it properly? When they run it through the machine, is the machine looking at it like it's supposed to? When it's tabulated, is everything being tabulated the way it should be? So, as I said, there is no perfect election, but I think the elections office around the country, not just here, but everywhere, it's very important that the staff is trained, that they test the equipment thoroughly and train their poll workers, and voter education is a big important part as well.
Based on what you read, hear, and see, a huge sprawling county, the biggest by area in the entire state, questions about using modems, not using them, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, to the degree you can speak to it, do you think Palm Beach County is as modernized as it needs to be, or still lags other counties in Florida, at least some other counties, in terms of what we have in place in the year 2012 to get the vote in fast and accurate?
It lags behind, and I can say back in the 90s, we actually tabulated using modems. We had regional counting centers, one in the north, one in the south, and one in the Glades and the central, and those were the punch card ballots. They were tabulated there, they were modem into the central office, and then audits were done after that. When we went to a new voting system, that was not in place for whatever reason. Skeptical in having modems from the precinct into the tabulating center because of you've got 600 polling places and everybody trying to get in at the same time. But I can see regional tabulating centers to try to make it easier.
There isn't usually a lot of focus on election supervisors until Election Day or the day after. What do people not know about this job?
It's a lot of work, a lot of paperwork, a lot of crossing T's, dotting I's. I usually liken elections to Thanksgiving dinner. Mom and Aunt and Grandma's in the kitchen for weeks ahead of time preparing for Thanksgiving dinner. Everybody comes in and there's a beautiful spread, everybody eats and then leaves. You know, and Mom and everybody has to do cleanup. It takes in a county like Palm Beach County, a good 6 to 7 months to prepare for an election, a county-wide election. It takes a lot of staff. When I left, we hired over 5,000 poll workers for one election, for a county-wide election. You get all 5,000 of those to do their job like they're supposed to, then that's a miracle in itself, to show up and to do everything. And then you've got all your actual workers that are on site that day doing everything that they need to do. And then you're expecting the staff to tabulate everything that night and get it done right when most of them have been there since 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and have worked 10, 12-hour days for weeks prior to that. So they're by now on a 24-hour day, and then they have to turn around and come back the next day. So just fatigue, just human nature.
And that it's more work than anybody even imagines.
Yes, yes.
Definitely.
Are you still haunted by 12 years ago, the hanging chads, the publicity? You were on every broadcast nationwide for weeks on end. Everybody trooped in from all over the country, not to mention everywhere in Florida, and indeed around the globe as well. Looking back, what could you have done differently? What would you have done differently? What's it been like the last 12 years? You still get asked about it sometimes?
I do. I've learned that, and this is something I've done all my life, you can't fix something that's already happened. Hindsight's 20/20, as they say. You have to use it as a learning experience and move on. I don't regret anything that I did. I did it in my heart, I did it for what I thought was the right reason. I made the ballot the way it was for voters with visual impairment. I'd served on a number of committees regarding voters with disabilities, and also I had that in mind when I did it.
The infamous butterfly ballot. You'd have stuck with that. I know you get asked about that. You probably so many times you think about it in your sleep, but you would have stuck with that to do it over again?
If I had the same scenario, probably, because if we would have put it all on one page, the type would have been small, and I probably would have been criticized for that as well. So you can't change that.
In 2000, Duval had butterfly ballot, right? But theirs was even more complex.
Right. They actually had a 2-page ballot where the voter voted one page and flipped and voted the second page with the same candidates, which caused a lot of overvotes there because they thought it was a different set of ballots.
And yet there wasn't as much attention on Duval County in the 2000 elections as there was Palm Beach County.
That's correct.
You talked about the fact that we go back 12 years and now forward. Now we've gone from everything, we went to touchscreens, then we went back to paper, optical scan. Are we improved overall in the state of Florida, but more specifically to our community? Are we improved with the equipment? Because moments ago you said you still don't think Palm Beach County's where some other counties are. Be a little more specific and where you see the improvements, and specifically where we need to do more. I think you talked about regional tabulation to move the results more quickly.
Right. Well, first of all, with regard to the voting systems, I truly believe that touchscreen voting machines were way ahead of their time. 12 years ago, hardly anything was touchscreen except maybe some cash registers in restaurants and a few things. So people weren't used to them. Now everything is touchscreen, so I think they would have been accepted a little easier today than they were 12 years ago. The reason I decided to go with them rather than the optical scan ballots back then was I'm very sensitive of voters with disabilities. The touchscreen voting machine is the only piece of equipment where a voter, regardless of their disability, can vote without assistance. Whether you're blind, you're illiterate, you have cerebral palsy or Parkinson's or whatever, anybody could use it without assistance. Plus, on the other hand, the optical scan ballots, how many thousands of trees are we killing every time there's an election? It's going back to the old paper system.
There's some talk about making election supervisors an appointed position instead of elected. Where do you stand on that?
I can argue both sides of that, to be honest with you. In 2000, if I would have been appointed, I would have been fired because I refused to do what the county commissioners wanted me to do. I did what I thought in my heart was the right thing to do. Miami-Dade County, they're the only ones with an appointed supervisor. He did what he thought was the right thing to do, would not listen to his bosses, and he did get fired. But with an appointed person, hopefully you would get somebody knowledgeable, with at least organizational skills and all. So I go back and forth between.
And briefly, 12 years on, what are you up to today?
I'm officially retired, although I'm busier now than I ever was. I do a lot of volunteer work. I'm on a lot of boards and help a lot of organizations in the community. So I'm giving back.
Nothing to pull you back?
No.
That's over.
No, thank
that
you.
chapter is...
That's done and gone.
Done.
Yes, after 35 years, I'm done.
You watch the election returns, as do we all.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for your perspective. We really appreciate you taking time to join us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Teresa.
Okay.
Well, still to come, our roundtable takes on the political issues of the week. Is it time to change the way we choose our election supervisors? That's one of the questions for our roundtable when we come back. It spans nearly 2,000 square miles. Most call it the Treasure Coast. I call it home. And whether it's breaking news in Fort Pierce or severe weather in St. Lucie West, the safety of families here is our top priority. With news bureaus in Stewart and Port St. Lucie, always keeping you informed, safe, and out of harm's way. That's what we mean when we say local coverage you can count on. That's WPTV News Channel 5.
I didn't know. I didn't know. Did you know 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer? If you're over 40, get a yearly mammogram. If you can't afford one, the Komen South Florida affiliate can help. Call or visit us online.
For 48 years, my family business has served the needs of our customers and provided not just a better night's sleep, but an easy buying experience and a great value. Now we've assembled the latest collection of the finest mattresses available, offering them at 10 to 20% below market sale prices.
During the City Mattress Spring Clearance, enjoy extra clearance savings on select mattresses, adjustable beds, and bedroom furniture for every comfort and budget.
Come in today. You'll wonder why you waited so long. City Mattress, real savings every day.
Spring has sprung. We're sprucing up your spring menu with Iron Chef Bobby Flynn.
You guys gonna help me cook? I need help.
Bobby may be leading the way in the kitchen.
Let me see if I can get some help.
But he's teaming up with DIY expert Brooke Peterson.
I love that this bar is for children and for adults.
I want shopping though, come on.
To pull off bargain budget ideas.
Are these soap dispensers?
Yeah, they are. Shut the door. Next, Rachel.
Tomorrow at 11 on WPTV News Channel 5.
I didn't know. I didn't know. Did you know the Komen South Florida affiliate funds local breast cancer screening and treatment? If you can't afford screening, we can help. Call or visit us online.
Now to our roundtable with Brian Crowley, author of CrowleyPoliticalReport.com, and Jennifer Sorentrew, a government reporter with the Palm Beach Post. Welcome.
Thank
you very much. You too, Brian.
Thank you.
It's the first time we've welcomed Jennifer to do the point.
Jennifer's a star reporter for the Post, and we're glad to have her here.
Excellent. Well, the last 3 Palm Beach County supervisors of elections have been involved in vote counting controversies. So might there be plans to change the way this office is run? Brian, what do you
Well, I mean, I think I've said on this program in the past that should they make me king on Monday, and I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know, that I would get rid of some of these elected constitutional officers. I mean, an election supervisor has become a highly technical job. It's not a job where somebody should just, you know, jump up, down, wave their hand, say, gee, I'd like to run for office and have that job. And I think you could make that same argument for property appraiser and tax collector. I mean, these are technical positions. And with the computerization of the elections office, I mean, you need to have somebody that has some technical expertise, I think, to get this stuff done.
And the County Commission decided in November that they were going to look into the possibility of asking voters to consider making the constitutional officers, some of them the elected positions appointed instead. And They're in the process of doing an efficiency study, which is going to be completed, I think, in the coming weeks, few weeks, and that'll determine. They want to see how much money they can save by changing the way it's set up now.
So that's why they want to do it. It's just for a cost saving.
They want to look at the cost savings, and then they'll decide if they're going to put the question to voters in November, and on this coming November's ballot. They would have to make that decision by August.
Now, to keep the politics out of it, some places talk about not needing a straight majority, but a supermajority if you decide, well, we don't like that appointed person. Is there any talk about what the mechanisms would be so it doesn't become something where politics, heaven forbid, are automatically become part of the process when they're unhappy with the latest, let's say, election?
No, they haven't gotten that far yet. Right now, they're strictly looking at the cost savings.
The cost savings factor.
What do you think the likelihood is that it'll happen? That it'll go on the ballot?
It's tough to say. I know that there are at least a few commissioners who are really pushing the issue. So.
But the draw still for election that still tugs some of them back is that it's the way we've done it. Give the voters a chance to decide.
Constitutional officers don't want to,
Yeah, they don't give it up. They've got their own constituencies. So it'll be interesting if the inertia of that can change.
Well, and then, you have the issue where I think Bert Aronson at one point was thinking about running for tax collector. So, there's some incentive for some of these folks that are term limited to want to keep those constitutional offices around so they can run for them.
There's another voting question that you wrote about, Jennifer, involving the Palm Beach County Inspector General's office. And the voters approved it, but now there's a question of who pays for it.
Right, and that's become a real hot topic at the county level. The voters voted overwhelmingly to create the Office of Inspector General and the Ethics Commission. And there are some people who say that when the voters voted, they didn't realize that the office would grow to around 40 employees and with an annual budget of I think it's right around $3 to $3.5 million. And so there's a push now to maybe consider looking at creating a special taxing district to fund the Office of Inspector General, and that's an issue that could also be put to voters. It's unclear whether that could happen as soon as November, but the county's looking at it.
What's the feedback you're getting on that? Do voters feel like, wait a minute, I didn't read that in the fine print when I voted for this?
Well, it depends who you ask. I mean, there's some people who say they didn't. The question just said, the ballot question, 2010 ballot question said, should we create an Office of Inspector General that is funded by the county and all of the entities that she oversees, and that was approved by 72% of voters.
The debate goes on. Let's turn a little bit to national politics for a moment. Latest Gallup poll, always snapshots that change day by day, but in swing states, including Florida, President Obama enjoying a healthy lead over Mitt Romney, and among women voters, starting to show a huge gap in terms of preference among women voters for President Obama, at least at this point, as compared to Mitt Romney. Your take on all of that, Brian?
Well, as the expert on women here on this panel, some of the topics that the issues that have come up with Republicans in the last 4 or 5 weeks, whether it was the contraception issue, even gay marriage to a certain extent, that you get women, I think, and I'm sure I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, they want to have a sense of fairness about some of these issues, and I think they find that when you start talking about issues like contraception, they get offended at the notion that you're going to tell them what they should be able to do or not do on an issue like that. And I think there have been a few of those issues that have come along that have, at least in the short term, hurt the Republican Party, and it's going to be interesting to see whether or not, if Mitt Romney in fact becomes the nominee, he's going to be able to shake that Etch-a-Sketch and talk to women in a way that will be more attractive to them than the Republican Party has been recently.
Okay. Will the Etch-a-Sketch be the top toy this year, do you think? Sure gets talked about a lot out there on the trail. Marco Rubio in town this week, and of course saying, no, I have no plans on being someone's running mate. I'm endorsing Mitt Romney, and that's what I'm doing. Do you believe him?
Well, I still think that if Marco Rubio is asked if he's going to, wants to be on the ticket, that he's going to say yes. One of the things that I don't know if anybody had the opportunity to watch the Sarah Palin HBO movie, Game Change. It strikes me that people latched onto Marco Rubio so fast, the same people that were critical of within the Republican Party of Sarah Palin, that they've done a lot of the same thing with Marco Rubio. Some of these same conservatives who are cheering on Marco Rubio really knew very little about him, other than he was a handsome, articulate Hispanic from a key swing state. And it seems to me that some of the due diligence that the McCain campaign may have failed to do with Sarah Palin, that some of these conservative commentators may have failed to do with Marco Rubio.
Of course, you could argue that in today's cycle of news, that's true of Democratic and Republican candidates alike, the vetting and the warp speed with the web and everything else that we go through with all of this.
Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting. Coming back to where we began on local government, what should we keep on our radar as we close out this segment, as we look ahead? Talk about top issues we need to be keeping an eye on, above and beyond what we've spoken about.
Budget will be coming up this summer, and I think
a contentious one.
It's going to be very tight. They're talking about millions of dollars shortfall, and so that'll be one to watch. And then this IG issue, Inspector General issue, will be playing out in the next coming month or two. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a push to put that to voters.
All right, very good. Well, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more on To the Point in just a moment. Time now for the Crowley
Drum
Closer.
roll, please.
Well, I'm going to repeat a warning. Do not leave your homes on Tuesday. Do not get in your car and drive anywhere on Tuesday. The president will be in town. The highway is going to be clogged up. Highway patrolmen, sheriff's officers, police officers are going to be all over the highway, so you might want to avoid I-95. He's going to be in Broward County, Dade County, and in Palm Beach Gardens on Tuesday.
All right.
Thanks for the warning.
Didn't know you did highway patrol work too.
Exactly. That's our traffic segment as well.
And Jennifer, thank you for being our guest. We'll look forward to having you back again. Thank you for your insights.
Thanks, Jennifer. And thank you, everybody, for joining us and for spending time with us on this Easter morning. We hope you have a happy Easter. And if you'd like to comment on the show, just send a comment to WPTV.com. Just click on the political link.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.